You just, yeah, you with the existence. You don't experience yourself as a thing anymore. Not the blank canvas. You experience yourself. You're just here, and you are looking. You're not in any body anymore. So you just, they just all, yeah. You're aware of them all, and you can now you can choose to like tap, zoom into a grain of sand, and that's all. That's the Guru's telling you. You're aware that you are all of it. You can choose then what you want to zoom into. But the whole idea is they don't. That's what they say, remain as the self. So you remain, you're aware of all of it, but you're not choosing to focus as any specific thing, you see, an object. You're not choosing to experience or be the grain of sand. You're not choosing to experience or be Nicola. That's all. Then you remain as the one, as just the awareness. That's what they tell you. And the game goes on, but you are, you've got to experience it. As they're saying, being, you're just happy. You're just existing. You're just existing. And you're just happy. And you're aware of all these games going on and people coming in and out of the Maya, and you just love it all. You just experience being and loving being. As they tell you, that's actually what you can't explain it to someone, yeah. No, you are the one. You're choosing this. It's not being selfless. You've got to love yourself. You've got to love the character. You chose this character. Love it. Don't say there's something wrong with the character, because every single character is you. Every single character must love itself and love its story. That's all. Every single character is you. So you can't say, I mustn't be selfish. What about others? There aren't any others. You are none of them, actually, but appearing as all of them. You see? So there's nothing wrong with thinking of the self, but you just don't see the self as anything. You realize all of them are the self. That's all. So you can choose. You are free to choose and create whatever you want. You don't have to, I must sacrifice. That's an old program. You must sacrifice for the collective. There's no sacrifice here. There's nothing to sacrifice. You are the one. That's all. And everybody is free to choose whatever they want to create. You've got to give them the same freedom and yourself. Allow yourself to create whatever you want to create, and don't feel guilty about creating anything. Because who are you going to feel guilty about? There's only you. There's no guilt here in what you, as the source, experiences, even if it's, as I say, because it's a game of duality. It doesn't judge itself for even creating its not so pleasant stories. There's no judgment, because is only the one, you see. It's imagined. It's a mechanism of the mind. Just an experience. Yeah. I don't think. I think we were taught. There's some, as I say, there's an interesting video I shared yesterday. He's quite right, because there's a balance in everything. There's polarity. There's the humble, and then there's the selfless. There's being humble and being. I can't remember the other one was. He said they're both extremes. You see, they're both to one polarity or the other. If you understand, there's no one to compete with, no one to everyone is your imagined character. You can swap between the bodies. So exactly. Yes, exactly. But you know that when you're awake. If you're not, but that's still, you don't judge the ones that are doing that, because it's still you. You're understanding that is still the divine experiencing the opposite polarity of what it's like to, harm others. And because it has, and then it goes through that experience of harming itself. Exactly. So it knows, oh no, that's not nice, but it needs experience. As I say, whatever there's always, this is why the earth game they play. How do you know what happiness is if you haven't experienced sadness? So in this game, the experience as source, you experience all of them. You see, you've normally gone through when you come out of this earth game, you've normally gone through everything on this earth game. You've played every role. You've been through all the experiences to complete and have that knowledge. So you know what it's like to suffer, you know what it's like to be happy, you know what it's like to lose, not to lose, to grieve, not to grieve, to be in love, not to be in love, to be lonely, to be whatever. You've played them all. That's it. Because first of all, you are them all anyway. You can tap into them all. You see. So it gives the self that understanding, the compassion. You see. So you can relate. Otherwise, you wouldn't have empathy. How would you relate to anybody suffering if you've never suffered yourself, you see, or never lost something, or a loved one in the story? Nothing. It's just an experience. Knowledge. Well, in the game, it's knowledge and wisdom. That's what I'm saying. Think about this. Think about your experience. What have you learned? Just ask yourself, what have you learned from it? Love, compassion, understanding, kindness. Because if you've grieved and lost a loved one, you know exactly what it's like. So you have love and compassion because you have experienced that grief yourself. You see, of losing a loved one or losing whatever. If you've had company and you've been lonely, you've experienced that. So you know what I mean? There's a knowing. Just experience. And it depends on the degree you experience it. So if you experience something to the one extreme, you're going to experience it normally to the other. That's why the gurus say, stay neutral rather. That's why they advise don't choose. Because if you choose one extreme, like extreme happiness, right? Everything has a balance because source. Eventually, it's going to have to come back it's going to have to swing. The pendulum needs to find balance because it's all balance and source. So if you choose only happiness, eventually that pendulum has to go around again. You see? So you might stay in happiness for who knows how long, but then eventually it's going to swing around again because there's a balance, understand? In the Maya, in the thing, there is a duality. There is polarity. And energies need to stay in harmony and balance. So that's why they say don't choose, just allow it. Because if you choose, you know you're going to experience the opposite. So if you choose one, extreme happiness, you're going to experience sooner or later, it's going to swing back. That's it. And you're going to experience the extreme sadness. You see, the opposite to that. But if you have no preferences, you're not pushing away any. That's why the gurus tell you. That's where the advice actually goes. It's just to stop you, because they realize how the game worked. So you don't want to then, if you don't push, as they tell you, and don't avert, this is where we're all going to, back to source, where there will not be any aversion or pushing or grasping. And then there won't be suffering. Why? Because you will not experience the extremes as much. They won't see whatever. This grief, it'll come and it'll move through. But we're not going to be, I don't want it. You see, we're not going to be like grabbing on or avoiding one or the other. That is what causes the problem. Because if you grab onto that, I want to be happy, I want to be loved, eventually the game's going to swing the other way. But when the character falls away and there's nobody left, again, as a guru, so where everyone's going, you go back to yourself, you realize there is no aversion because everything's you. So there won't be. So you won't have that experience either because you're not saying is something different. So you won't experience grief because you're not saying it's other than me, it's bad or it's good. So you don't experience that polarity as much. That's why. So this is why they always say to people, do not, you see. Because if you choose one, you're going to experience the other. But when you don't make a choice and you allow life just to play out like the gurus do, just whatever appears. And when it does come through your life, it moves through like that because there's no like, oh my gosh, I don't want this, I do want this. And there's no identification with it. So it just arises and goes. Everything appears and goes. It doesn't stay. So there isn't like, you don't get yourself in suffering for, I don't know for how long, You don't stay heartbroken for like years because you don't cling or, Don't know. When I asked the self source, as I said, all it was, well, what else are we going to do? Because you are eternal, this is what they say, everyone tells you it is eternal now. So there's only the now. So source just keeps choosing different experiences and imagining. Eventually you can stay like some of the gurus you want to break, and you can just remain as a self. So you can remain in spirit form, just being and just being happy and just staying there with not playing a character. That's what you do, and then there's just peace and happiness. But when you get bored again, bing, you tap into the game and off you go again. So yes, there's cycles. There seem to be they stay a source for a while because you get tired. You just don't want it. You're tired of creating. You just want that no thing, and then you remain as no thing, as just beingness, as just emptiness and peace. But yeah, the game is constantly going. So eternal now, as he says, what are you going to do when there's only you and there's eternity? Imagine, daydream. So basically you are telling yourself, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right, okay. There's nowhere to go. You can't escape yourself because the character is in you, you see. But you can stop playing characters for a while and have some peace and quiet. So you don't have to play, hi, Carol. You don't have to choose a character. As I said, that's what remaining a source is. You're aware of everything happening at the same time, but you are not playing any of the games. There's no feeling. Because at that level, there is no joy and no sadness. Because remember, at that level, you are source. So the game, it's like your dream, right? You don't get, it's like a watching movie. There's no emotional attachment to it. It's just observation because you're aware of it all at the same time, but you're not having you see, because you're not playing a character when you're back as the self, you are not experiencing. So you're not going through the suffering and all that kind of stuff, you see. Yeah, you are nothing. That's what I'm saying. When you remain as a self, you remain as pure consciousness. Not as a character. You are happy, you just experience a being, and you're aware of all these stories and spirits carrying on and going on, and the spirit back in and out of carnations, and you're just there, you're just happy, you're just chilling. It's only when you choose to focus in on experience, you can zoom in on the planet and you're aware of everything that's going on in the story, but it's not like a lot of noise, and then you can selectively zoom in on a certain character. So it's like when you die, that's what they tell you. You experience everything. It's like very quickly there. Everything, your whole life just flashes through, and you understand why everything happened. It's like your entire life flashes before you. It's true, and you will see, but not in a bad way, because you're aware of everything now. It's like instant. The knowledge is instant. When there's no body, everything is instant. I can't explain it. So you're aware of everything at the same time. Even the knowledge, your whole life, oh wow, okay, that's why that happened, and then it's like nothing. It's just poof, there we are, that story's over. No big deal. But there's no you don't experience the suffering and the pain because there's no human mind. You're not in that human body construct, so you don't experience the suffering and pain. It's like when you go through, how do I explain this? If you go through past lives and you get taken back to a life, okay, whatever happened, right? And you experience this when this happens to you as source. So you see them, you see yourself dying, and you see all that, but you don't feel the pain and you're seeing it as source. It's like being out of the body experiences. You see everything, but there's no pain, there's no emotional attachment, there's no story, there's no attachment to the story. You are pure observer. That's what it's like being a source. You're aware, you can zoom into it, but there's no attachment, there's no pain felt, there's no, you know what I mean? It's neutral. The story is observed from absolute neutrality. That's it. Just like, oh, okay. You are the same source. You're not connected. You cannot be. There's no disconnection. There's only source. The bodies are all appearances and energy, not separate. But remember, you're not in the body, you're not a body. The characters are all appearing in source. In source. You're the source they're appearing from and in, yeah. There's only one awareness, yeah. And the mind is the generating mechanism. It's like a mechanical mechanism that creates. It's there to select thoughts and stories, words. It's there to make the Maya. That's all. You're welcome. So the mind is the mechanism that is there to create a story, to create. That's all it's there for. You choose to tune in and focus and select whatever your thoughts and story you want to create. I don't know. Nobody knows. How do you know what you are? You just are. I mean, I don't have a clue, but it has a lot of energy and power, yes, depending on the frequency, like the sun. We experience a lot of power and energy. That's also illusion. There's none of it experienced. When you tap out of the body, you don't have the senses anymore. So there's, because it's a part of the story, the senses, taste, touch, smell, and pain, all that stuff is not there. It's not real. So when you're not in the body, you don't experience the sensations anymore. So that's part of the body-mind construct, is the experience of pain and happiness and energies. Yeah, because it's energies, you see, because then you're creating stories. So remember, there's no such thing as sadness. So you are saying, you see, we have labeled something, energy, as sadness. So we experience it as sadness. But as soon as there's no labels, you see, you're not causing separation or any experience. So there's no experience of a sadness, because there's nothing. Who's sad? What's sad? You see, all of them are made up. Everything's imagined. It's because you labeled it. So you're literally defining the experience, the sensations, everything. There we are. I don't have any books. I haven't written any or read any. The only one I read when I woke up was not read, listened to audiobook when I first woke up, like originally, because I was a Christian belief background. I listened to the Conversations with God, because you had very much of religious programming here. So there was a lot of that. Well, that's a lot to work through. Wow, a lot of beliefs and stuff come out of there. A lot of, that you'll learn to drop all that, and you'll be shown all that. It's not in alignment or not, because there's no separate one. That is a big problem. You're told that you are separate. There's no you. There's characters here. There's no separate people there. Yeah, you're aware of everything, but there's no sensations. There's no pain, sensations. You're aware of everything. All the stories. You can zoom in. You can choose to focus on them or not. You can just chill. But you're aware of them all. You know they're there, and you can choose to focus in on whatever story, planet, thing you want to. Zoom in, and it depends how close you want to zoom in. But there's no, as I say, there's no sensation. It's like, oh, wow, that's cool. But there's no you don't have the physical sensations, obviously, because you're not playing bodies anymore. So there's no, and you're not saying, there's good or bad. You're aware you're a spirit, everything's spirit, it's all a story. So you're not separating it, you see. Yeah, whatever. But even that, that's another whole story. It's not going to that. Even then you realize, because depending on the consciousness and when you die, what consciousness level you're at. There's also, if you look at the near-death experiences, they also go in frequency, because it's all imagined. So whatever your beliefs are, you're going to experience that when you die too. If you believe there's heaven, you're going to experience there's no one there. It's actually interesting, that place. You go there. That's interesting. It's like there's a city in the sky. It's another whole realm created, like another story. Spirit city. Then there's some people. So if you believe you're going to be judged and whatever else, and that's exactly what, because they created. So they create that death experience. They go, oh, am I going to be judged? So they create the experience of being judged and a judge and jury. But there's only you here. You don't realize you're judging yourself. So even your after death is imagined. You're creating that experience. Depending on your consciousness and your beliefs, that's exactly what you experience. You see? Is a different frequency, it's a vibration. So you think you believe and there's going to be good and bad and hell and heaven. That's exactly what you create that experience. But the thing is, when you haven't got a body, you wake up very fast, because you realize, holy shit. You see, that's when you move at the speed of thought. So when they find themselves in a not so pleasant experience, and they're like, oh my gosh, they think of God or an angel, they immediately, you see, now they're immediately with that angel. So there's no There's not like they, you know, like here. They don't here. Depends on the thought. So they can run around. People, some don't even realize they're dead. You see, they don't believe in it. So they leave their body and they hang around here because they don't know there's anything else, because that's what they believe. So even those experiences can be created, you see. Experience are being lost, you know, or whatever, you know, whatever they believed when they died. Unfinished business. So, because there's only consciousness. There's only thought. You are so welcome. Pleasure. Yeah, I've described the death process and all that and what happens in the experience from inside and outside. So there's nothing to fear. You do experience going down a dark tunnel initially, because that's the exit, the breath leaving your body. So because people are taught to fear darkness. There's no such thing anyway. It's a part of the Maya, the dark and light. There isn't any light, whatever. So you're taught to fear darkness. So when you're dying and you see this black or dark tunnel, you get frightened. There's nothing to be frightened. And then poof, you pop out. Oh, well, there we are. So you might experience darkness for a few seconds, because same as when you exiting, if you even as consciousness, when you exit, stop playing the body, you experience going down, and exiting. The consciousness exits this body-mind construct. So you go through that dark and light as well. And then you pop out. It's like, whoa, there we are, you know. Anyway. All right. So welcome. All right, people. I think this has been a very long live. I don't know how long I've been on here for anyway. There's obviously a purpose. Who knows? There's always a purpose, whatever reason why this body felt guided to share whatever it wanted to share today, and who needed to hear what was put out into the collective field, these and whatever. Maybe that's all it was meant to be, is be put into the collective consciousness field, to be tapped into whoever wants to tap into those frequencies. You are so welcome. So welcome. It's such an amazing, the more you learn about the self, which is, it isn't, because in the game, it's, as I say, it's infinite. I mean, you know, in the story, just thinking about it creates, you know, story. So any thought is creation. So by thinking about yourself and what can be out there, you're imagining it. You're creating all these things. Your science, like people that are interested in the body, will keep finding new things because they believe and they keep looking. Whatever you look for, it's going to give you stories. So if you're looking for new things and new genes, you're going to find them. You're looking for, because it's completely creating it. You are a creation machine, or the mind. It's amazing. But literally, you stop all that. If you stop using the creative mechanism, which is the mind or thought, then it just disappears back to nothing. Eventually you will end up again, you know, cycle back to the beginning where there was nothing, and just yourself. Nothingness, and you are the only thing that exists. So it does make sense why you do this, playing with yourself. Here we are. All right. Lovely people. If this was a help to the self in any way or whatever, who knows, it must be frequencies, vibrations put out there into the collective, hopefully help people see, as you say, and you also understand what the collective stories are coming to an end, because it's this end of the cycle, the end of this, you know, the ascension time. So the ending of these stories, people, you know, the Atlantis story, you can see, if you understand what it is, and you'll see what's playing out. And then, oh, okay, they haven't transcended that story yet. And it'll keep, whatever hasn't, keeps coming around until you master it, you see. So if you want to wipe yourself off the planet again, well, there we are. That's another one. Or if you want to choose domination, control, you know, those that have to repeat that cycle, they'll repeat that cycle, whatever cycle they haven't learned yet. Because these are all collective stories that are, you know, as I say, Maldek, Mars, Atlantis, and then the Orion Wars. So there you see that playing out. You can see it easily, the E.T. story. The Lyrans and the Dracos and that whole story again of oppression and control. So that's that whole, governments trying to whatever tyranny story. The self-destruction of the planet, the tsunami comet story, that's, you can see where they didn't realize we created that, like Moldic, and the comet, and the destruction of Atlantis was the same thing: consciousness, belief, creation, energy, frequency, vibration. As you know, parallel realities, timelines are what you focus on, align with, believe. There we are. So you're seeing those stories were split off, so the ones that don't transcend their story, haven't figured out and learned, oh no, well, there's only me here, all is the self, I'm creating it all, will keep going around until they come to that conclusion, or source shows you that ET, that ET, that ET, me, everybody is the same one. Remove the costume, which is the shape or the form, and source shows you that there's no difference, they're all the self. And how you're not going to fight with it, you see. Then you're not going to see another enemy out there, because you realize, that's me. And then you realize it's here. So where am I hating myself, judging myself, oppressing myself, trying to control myself? That's all. You see. And where am I giving my power away, saying that can create my reality? Where am I not claiming the power as the source of this experience and creation? I am the source of all experience and creation, all appearance. There we are. All right. So much love. Have a wonderful day, evening, morning, wherever you are. So much love, and thank you for being here, because I tell you what, I'm so appreciative of artistic people. We've all got talents that create beautiful clothes and art and music. Oh my gosh. Could you imagine, they hadn't developed in that way or focused, we wouldn't have music, we wouldn't have art, we wouldn't have a lot of things. Planes, I love flying. I love that experience of flying. So everyone has a role, and that's why they have these ideas. It's just amazing. Freaking amazing. Anyway. Lots of love. All right. Bye.